live. Later on tape. Hi, I'm Dr. Dave from Shore's Wellness Solutions, the Natural Health and Wellness Center. And of course, I always have my better half with me, Amy.
Hi guys.
How are you all doing today?
Well, good.
Hey.
We've got a live audience too today, which is always a lot more fun.
And our in-studio or reception area audience is growing every week, and we actually love that. This week we're going to be talking about whole foods, whole health.
And what is Whole Foods and Whole Health?
Isn't that a store?
I don't know. There is a store called Whole Foods, Whole Health, isn't there?
Well, it's called Whole Foods.
Oh, just Whole Foods?
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
not necessarily whole health. So not everything in that store is actually healthy.
right.
Good for you. So hopefully you'll learn a lot today to know that you can really go to any store to buy healthy food.
Exactly. All right.
Ready
Well,
to take it away?
I think so. Well, I want to thank all of you for coming today because you're on your way to better health. And the best way of understanding that is learning the right things to do, how you can create better health so we can all live a long, healthy life. What is healthy anyway?
That's a good question. You know, we look at a lot of people and we say, wow, they must be healthy because of how they appear. But appearance alone is not necessarily give us the truth about health.
Exactly. Well, let's start off. We're going to start off with some definitions so you understand what we're talking about when we're talking about whole foods. So whole food is described as natural foods that are not heavily processed. That means whole, unrefined, or minimally refined ingredients. So we're looking for plant-based. If we're talking about plant-based, that means food that comes from plants and doesn't contain any animal ingredients such as meat, milk, eggs, or honey.
Awesome. True.
There's other things we're going to be talking about are whole foods. That's a plant-based diet, and it's a lifestyle that's based on eating mostly plants.
But not exclusively plants.
Exactly. It excludes or drastically reduces animal products such as meat, dairy, and eggs, and processed food, highly refined foods, bleached flours, refined sugars, and oils.
You
So
know what
those,
they call that in New Jersey?
yes, I do.
White trash.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yes, you got to experience that the other day when you were asking those questions. So, anyhow, we're going to talk about what vegan means. That's to describe a lifestyle that excludes, as far as possible, all animal products for food, and includes but is not limited to meat, fish, dairy, eggs, and honey. So, if you're vegan, you're eliminating all of those things. And vegetarian. We'll talk about that. Vegetarian is a more widely known lifestyle. It excludes foods that consist of or have been produced with the aid of products composed of or created from any part of the body of a living or dead animal. So this includes meat, poultry, fish, or insects. I know most of us don't eat insects, but as
Not that we
vegetarians
know
you
of.
can.
Yeah, when we're
Right, not to be
Right?
know of.
So what are you
Vegetarians-
supposed to eat?
Yeah. Vegetarians typically might eat eggs and dairy products, but
Exactly.
they're not going to eat the flesh of animals.
Exactly. So, an omnivore is a person that eats food of both plant and animal origin.
That's me.
And a carnivore follows a lifestyle that includes consuming meats. So we're going to talk about the whole foods, but I wanted you to have an understanding of some of the terms that we're talking about because there's different types of whole food eating.
That's correct.
All right. You ready to take it away?
Maybe.
All right.
Expand your plate. Expand your palate. So you might be thinking a whole food plant-based diet is going to be hard work or boring, and that avoiding animal ingredients limits your options. But we want you to think again, okay? This is your opportunity to become more innovative as a cook. And as you try to work with new ingredients, you'll actually gain a deeper appreciation for food. So think of this experience as a flavor adventure.
It is.
It really is.
Really, when you start playing around with your foods and things like that, we kind of go, oh my gosh, I have to eat vegetables. This is really boring. I'm going to eat the same thing every day. But it gives you an opportunity to try a lot of things that you haven't tried before.
My mom told me not to play with my food.
I was
You
waiting for
play
that.
with your food,
play with
try
it now.
new vegetables. So you can try new things, adding different herbs and different spices, things that you haven't tried before. It gives you an opportunity to try things, create different things, and you'll really expand your horizons when it comes to food and realize food and healthy foods can taste really, really good if you play around with it.
And we find people that tend to eat the same vegetables every single day tend to get more bored with what they're eating because they're not expanding, their adventures of eating.
Right.
But I will put a shout out to you, because behind the gardens this summer we had some fresh herbs that we got to work and experiment with all summer long, which was really fantastic.
And when you have an overabundance of certain vegetables, you get really creative because you don't want to eat the same thing every day. So it's super great when you have those vegetables, or you go buy something different, you get to play around with looking up different recipes for it and trying different ways. So now you can expand it to really eating a lot better and having different food choices.
That's correct.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, why would we want plant-based? There's a lot of research out there about plant-based and why we would want it. You want to take that away? Or
I can take that away. So, and you're right, there is a ton of research out there providing a lot of excellent scientific evidence. One of my favorite books about plant-based eating is the China Study.
Why is that?
Because I got to read it cover to cover. No, more so than that. And the China Study, actually, Campbell goes around the world and he talks about 12 different areas in the world about different diets that exist. And one that really gets overlooked is Scandinavian study, where he looked at the endemic people that live around the shores versus the ones up in the mountains. Totally different diets. The ones that were in Scandinavian countries up in the mountains were eating more animal-based diets, goat, sheep, things like that, and their products like the milk and cheeses from it. But the ones around the shore were doing more aquatic-based diets, like fish. And so when one went from one area to the other, there was a difference in what they experienced. But they called it the China Study because most notably was the study that came out of China. And we're talking rural China, not down in the major cities. And the incidence of cancer was less than 1% of the Chinese population away from the cities because they had traditional diet. And they did a heavily plant-based diet with just a little bit of protein. And so here in the United States, we think, oh, I've got to have my 26-ounce Delmonico steak with, my green bean.
Right. Or if they have a green bean at all.
Right.
Right.
Or,
a lot of times you want a side of fries or something fried, not really the vegetables.
Right. And that's too much. The human body can really handle, depending on how well it works, about 4 to 6 ounces of protein per meal. Okay. And when you get into more than that, you start getting into that 6 to 8 ounces of protein or more per meal. What's going to happen is you're going to actually start putting weight on, because that undigested weight is going to be stored as fat, and it's also going to disrupt the digestive tract, slow it down, and be sluggish. Another thing with plant-based, see, she has me on a roll. Another thing with plant-based is, with the plant-based diet, you're going to get all 5 components that define something as food. You're going to get your vitamin complexes, minerals, very important, active enzymes, your proteins, and your fats. And the plant-based diet will give you those minerals that you're going to miss and the enzymes that you're going to miss if you have more of an animal-based diet.
Right. And the comprehensive study also shows that people on a plant-based diet also reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and certain types of cancers and other illnesses. So it's really important because you're getting all the nutrients that he just talked about. Your body is able to be healthier and help prevent a lot of the diseases out there. These are really pretty important things to know and understand. It also helps because you get more energy, you reduce your inflammation, and your overall health becomes a lot better because of it. So now there are a couple categories we're going to talk about of plant-based benefits. First one, easy to maintain your weight. People who eat a plant-based diet tend to be a lot leaner than those who don't. And the diet makes it easy to lose weight and keep it off without counting calories. Because you can, I have this great book, I wish I would have thought of it to bring. I have this great book that says, you can eat this or you can eat that. And it's this great visualization. Maybe I'll post that later when I go home and find it. But this book will tell you, okay, you can eat this, and let's say it has like a picture of a hot dog, right? You have this hot dog. You can have that has the same calories of this huge feast that has all these vegetables and fruits. And you can have, you'd have to, for me, I'd have to eat that for 3 days to eat that much food. But there's so much food on there, and it has the same calories, but you're going to lose weight, and you can eat way more food by doing that. So it's a great way to maintain your weight.
A lot of our patients who come in from other eating programs that count points we find a lot of times they struggle staying down to the level of points, 28, 29, somewhere in that neighborhood, of what they're supposed to eat a day. And they struggle with that, they're always hungry. And when we switch them over to a more plant-based diets, not vegetarian, not vegan, but plant-based, they come in and their complaint is they can't get to 20 points.
Right.
And we're putting fat back into their diet, the healthy fats back into their diets. And they're telling us, we can't eat that much. And what happens is they start to heal their bodies, the endocrine system starts to balance out, and then the weight starts to come off. Because remember, and we don't say this often enough, I don't think, you cannot ever lose weight to get healthy. Won't happen. You have to get healthy first to lose the weight, because weight gain is a sign of ill health of your brain trying to protect the body.
Exactly.
So you talked about plants. There's also disease prevention. Whole food plant-based eating can prevent, halt, or even reverse chronic diseases, including heart disease and type 2 diabetes. And I can say that confidently because those two are inflammatory processes in the body, as is obesity, as is arthritis, and many other conditions that we see treated regularly medically. When you switch your diet to a more plant-based diet, get rid of the inflammatory process, the inflammatory diseases that you're experiencing usually will heal up, unless you're doing something else to promote it.
Exactly. So let's go over some of the disease prevention benefits by changing over to plant-based food.
Awesome.
Right? One of the most well-known benefits of a whole food plant-based diet is increased heart health. Did you know that a plant-based diet is the only diet proven to prevent and reverse heart disease? So that's a really big thing. If our heart's not functioning, we're not functioning very well, are we? You're pretty down if your heart's not functioning, or if it's not functioning optimally, you're very sluggish, you lose your energy. It's really hard to function the way you're supposed to if your heart's not functioning that way.
Yeah, there's no other diet that can claim that. And I will tell you, the diet that we've been working with, our Total Body Reset, it trumps the American Heart Association diet 3-1. It just trumps it. And so I can confidently say that because I've reviewed these diets and worked with them with patients for many years, as you have, and it just trumps it.
Yeah, researchers have been studying the benefits of plant-based diets since the 1980s. And research presented during 2017 American Heart Association scientific sessions revealed that plant-based diets could reduce the risk of heart failure by 42% among people with no history of heart disease. That's pretty big. Just doing one thing, you don't have a history, and you can reduce it by 42%. I think that's pretty big.
And there's studies out there that show participants who consume plant-based diets actually show a reversal of coronary artery disease.
Yeah, that's another big thing.
Something to think about.
Exactly.
Back.
We're going to talk about the big C. Nobody likes to talk about the C word, but why not? Let's talk about it. Charisma, cancer.
Yes.
Research suggests that following a plant-based diet may reduce your risk of certain types of cancers.
Which are inflammatory processes based on what's going on in the body and the imbalance of the microbes in our system.
Exactly. There are two important factors to know when discussing cancer. First, cancer cells thrive in a high sugar environment. When the cells are starved by reducing sugar, they can't flourish. So, yes, go. I know, you gotta jump in.
So, my question is, how come every oncologist out there, yep, I'm getting bold again, watch out. How come every oncologist out there, the first words out of their mouth to their patients are, you can never have sugar in bread again?
You would think they would say that,
Is it
but they
because
don't.
they want to promote what they do, or do they really want to get people healthy? And we know cancer cells eat, that is consumed, 8 to 10 times quicker, more than normal cells. And so if you have somebody that does have cancer, or could potentially have cancer, they should never have sugar and carbohydrates again, otherwise you're feeding those cells. And I just think that's wrong, that that's not the first thing out of the mouth in the consultation.
You're correct.
Try and help people.
I know. Second, while DNA can play a role in the risk of developing cancer, diet, lifestyle, and environmental factors are big conditions that contribute to cancer as well. Sugar obviously being the number one, but your lifestyle and everything else plays a role.
So your DNA, that's like a loaded gun. It'll sit there and it'll never, in the history of that object, harm anybody. but it's the person behind that, whether or not they pull the trigger, that activates it. And that's what lifestyle's like with a lot of our DNA. You know, I always like to refer to the movie, remember? Twins, with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. You know, even their mother couldn't tell them apart, right? That's part of the...
When they were born, right? But if you've ever seen the movie...
Well, they were taken away from her, so that's why she couldn't tell who was who. But anyway, when you look at the movie, you know, what is it? You know, Arnold is this, you know, person that was brought up in seclusion on an island and had all the best of the best available to him in the arts and you know, physical fitness and everything, where Danny DeVito was put in an orphanage and thrust out, you know, at an early age to be on his own. And so, different personalities. Your DNA is just like that, okay? You can express the beauty of your DNA, or you can express the garbage of your DNA based on your lifestyle. It's always our choice, and it can always be changed. You can always work to change one way to the other.
Right, Arnold Schwarzenegger, what did he eat? All vegetables, fish, he hunted, he worked out every day, he had a stress-free life. All of those things
Like
play,
all of us.
just like all of us right now especially, did all of those things. Danny DeVito's running around smoking, he's eating all the junk, you always see him as eating junk food all day long, you know, he's not exercising, doing any of those things, but they came from the same DNA, and there's two completely different lifestyles going on here, and their health is completely different. So it does make a big role. The American Cancer Society recommends that cancer survivors follow a plant-based diet that's high in fruits, vegetables, unrefined grains, and kind of staying away from all the processed foods, meats, and especially sugar. You really want to stay away from the carbs and the sugar.
And refined grains like bread, pasta, cereal, biscuits, muffins,
Gotta do
pancakes,
the sweet
waffles,
ones.
donuts, bagels, cookies, cake, candy, pizza, roti, naan, and empanadas.
Yeah, so stay away from all of that.
And Halloween candy.
You throwed a new one in today, right?
Right.
So research has shown that plant-based diets positively affect survival in cancers of breast, colon, prostate, and skin. Those are the biggest ones that are affected by sticking to a plant-based diet. Whole foods, plant-based diet can help reduce inflammation like we talked about, boost your immune system as well, and decrease body weight, which all attribute to cancer risk. So it's really important to stick with that.
That's right.
All right, let's talk about
Diabetes prevention. So we're talking about type 2 diabetes here, not type 1. Totally different mechanisms, how they work and what causes them. But adopting a whole food plant-based diet may be a very useful tool in managing and reducing the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Countless studies have examined the effects of diet and diabetes, and the results are promising. So let's take a look at that. A study of more than 200,000 people, that's a pretty good study, published in a peer-reviewed weekly medical journal, found that those who adhered to a healthy plant-based eating pattern had a 34% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes than those who ate an unhealthy, non-plant-based diet. So that's one-third. That alone will reduce your risk by a third.
Right.
Similarly, a study published in Diabetes Care demonstrated that plant-based diets were associated with nearly 50% reduction of type 2 diabetes compared to non-vegetarian diets. So now we're looking, if we average these, we're about 40%, 42%. And then there's also good news for people with type 2 diabetes, because a published study in cardiovascular diagnosis and therapy found that plant-based diets have been shown to improve blood sugar control in people with diabetes, meaning can be reversed. And so we know type 2 diabetes is 100% lifestyle related and is 100% reversible if a person chooses to make those changes.
Yeah. So it's a pretty easy change. We're going to now talk about plant-based diet and how it affects our brain. Plant-based eating is associated with many health benefits, and the brain is no exception. Plant-based diets appear to influence both mental health and cognitive function. So, higher levels of antioxidants in the blood from plant sources have been associated with a significantly lower risk of depression and lower suicide rates. So, a lot of people think nothing about it. Oh, I'm just depressed, there's nothing. But they don't look at their diets to see if that's contributing to it. They don't want to change much, and they're just like, oh, well, you don't understand, I'm depressed, I'm just depressed. But they're not changing anything, not realizing that Increasing your antioxidant levels help you to feel a lot better and more positive. You have more energy and you're not feeling the side effects of depression.
Right, and we're not talking about things that you go buy in the store, supplements that you buy in the store for antioxidants, because those are chemical formulations. That's why I brought the canister out, so we can talk about that for like 15 seconds.
Right. The higher levels of antioxidants are also attributed to slowing the progression of Alzheimer's disease as well, and reversing cognitive deficits. Countless studies report an association between higher intakes of fruit and vegetables and a reduction of cognitive decline. So we gotta get off of the gunky food and get more nutrients into our diet. Right?
Correct.
All
I like your slides. Absolutely. The benefits are pretty astonishing, right? I really could go on all day sharing scientifically backed benefits of whole food plant-based eating, but I think you're starting to get the picture. And so, before we move forward, for our in-studio audience,
Well,
in-house,
and on tape.
and
On
for those
the recordings.
that are watching us on Facebook and YouTube, wherever this will be posted, you can send in questions that you might have. So before we move on, does anyone have any questions,
About what we've talked about so far.
or did we stun you all into silence?
Mm-hmm. So you said the plant-based diet, it still includes meat?
Yes.
Now, what are those meats again? Poultry and fish, or what is it? What are the meats that are
The
included?
meats, you can look at chicken,
Okay,
turkey,
okay.
fish, all types of seafood,
Mm-hmm.
beef, pork.
Beef, really?
Yes.
In moderation.
That's a plant?
And
No, no,
that
no.
is not plant-based.
No, these are
no,
not
no, no,
plants.
no.
A plant-based diet is
No.
having a little bit of animal protein
Uh-huh,
and the majority of your foods being plants.
okay. All right.
That's
Lessening all the meats is going to be
Mhm,
having
a
a
little
lot
bit,
more
okay.
health benefits
But still you
for
can
you.
have a variety,
Majority of
okay.
the
right. So when you go to a fast food joint,
Mhm.
right, and they give you, a slab of meat or something, they're usually putting it on a big piece of bread. Well, the bread's not plant-based, that's processed. You don't want that in the diet. Okay, so what are you left with? Now you're left with a slab of meat and fries. Well, that's still not plant-based.
And it may not even be real meat.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, going that way, you don't even know what you're
Mhm.
putting into your
Right,
body.
so a plant-based diet is, the majority of your diet is plants as opposed to the majority being protein.
Yes,
And
carbs.
plants have protein, so something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
What has more protein in it, a pound of animal protein or a pound of vegetables
Mm-hmm.
protein? So a pound of meat or a pound of vegetables, which has more protein? Well, it's the meat by 1 gram. The difference is a pound of meat's about this big, where a pound of vegetables will cover the whole platter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not careful, it's going to just sit in your gut because it takes a lot longer for it to process. Where we're eating the vegetables, you can process that a lot better.
And clog your arteries.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So
So
when
you
you're saying,
mentioned-
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Isn't this awesome? This is a great discussion. Pay attention.
No, I had some questions even before I came. So you said something about honey earlier. You list, like, at the beginning, you said eggs, honey.
Milk, meat,
Eggs, milk.
Where was honey? What it was?
Honey's an animal product.
It's from a bug, from the
Bees
bees.
make honey.
Right.
So funny, good or bad?
Right, that's the question.
It all
What is
depends.
that? Is that honey?
No, we
Oh,
don't have any honey. in
No,
the
we don't
box.
have honey.
Oh, okay.
So honey, if you're gonna have it, should be local honey. Don't go to the stores and look at the jar on the shelf that says local honey, because when you turn it around, it says from Colorado or wherever else. It has to be locally grown or
Local
locally made,
honey, 'cause
because
I-
that's where you get the benefits of it.
Okay,
You want it unfiltered,
unfiltered, okay.
maybe screened, because this way you don't get the bee parts in there.
But remember, honey's also sugar. So
Right.
if you're
That's
trying
right.
to avoid cancer and all those other things, you really don't want to use a lot of honey.
Not at all.
You know?
Right.
So that, it's kind of a catch-22 when
Right.
you go with the honey question.
But with less sugar in it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, no, they don't add sugar to honey. Honey is naturally
Honey's made of
sweet.
sugar.
So it's
Oh.
a natural sugar. It's just a little different.
Well, when I buy honey, it'll say how many grams of sugar it's in there, and so
Yes, it does. And there's not added sugar in there. That's just what it is.
that's what it is.
When you
Okay.
buy a piece of fruit, okay, you can look up and see how much sugar is in there naturally. There's not sugar added to it,
Okay.
but it's just naturally occurring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but if you're trying to reduce your risk of inflammatory disease processes like cancer, heart disease, vascular disease, stroke, deep vein thrombosis, it goes on and on. If you want to reduce your risk of the inflammatory process, you want to get the sugars out of the body, out of the diet.
And including fruit, because even though fruit is good for you and it's a lot better than some of the other choices, there are certain times where you're not going to want to have excess fruit. If you are fighting cancer or things like that, adding that fruit in is still sugar. The body's craving that sugar, so it's sugar no matter how you look at it. So you would want to stick to vegetables and
Right.
omit that. So it depends on what's going on with your body. Even though something is good for you, it's not good for you if you're suffering from certain things.
And if you're not suffering from certain things, then what's...
Be careful with it. You don't want to. You always want to have
Limit
3
the
cups
amounts.
of vegetables to 1 cup of fruit. So you don't want to just eat all fruit, right?
Right.
Yeah, 3 servings of vegetables
Yeah.
to a serving of fruit. So,
Exactly.
Okay.
So you want to make sure your ratios are in proportion as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in school. I'm in school.
Yes.
Okay, when you were talking about eating meat, did you say 4 to 6 ounces?
4 to 6 ounces per meal.
Okay.
If you have a digestive tract that works.
Right.
So so as we age, because of the standard American diet, the SAD diet, we tend to produce less and less hydrochloric acid and less pancreatic enzymes to digest. So a lot of people, as we age, we lose our taste, or they lose their taste for meat and protein because they can't digest it. So those people should not be having that 4 to 6 ounces. Maybe they should be only having 2 or 3 ounces until they get that process back.
Okay, so if you're good. My other thing is, what plants have protein?
All
Spinach.
plants.
All plants have protein? Okay.
Really?
Some are higher than others, but all plants do have protein.
All plants have...
In our next section, we're going to be going into how to transition to a whole food, plant-based diet, and some of the choices to make. So, if there are no other questions, we'll get started with that.
Just one quick
Sure.
last one. Okay, so all plants have protein. So when we're eating plants, and then we have a little bit of the chicken, turkey, or whatever, that's even more protein, right?
Right.
Wow.
Different type of protein.
Yes.
Oh, different type. Okay.
So switching to a plant-based diet is a lifestyle change that can be intimidating at first. So instead of focusing on what you shouldn't eat or foods to avoid, it's really more effective to start including more of the good things. Because if you think, like, that's why diets don't work, because everyone's like, oh, I'm on this diet, I have to cut all this stuff out, I'm gonna be miserable, these are all the things that I like to eat, and they don't want to do that. So let's focus on, and that's what we do in our office, let's focus on the things we're going to add to our diet, which we tend to start out, add a cup of vegetables to each meal. It's an easy way. Keep your meals the same, but add that in. So we want to start figuring out ways that you can incorporate the good things so you can change your diet that way, because you'll naturally start eliminating the bad things if you're filled on the good things.
Right. So when you're adding in fruits, get rid of the little Debbie snack, right? Add some fruit. Apples, berries, melons, they're the best.
Exactly.
So that's why I'll keep it there.
Exactly.
Real simple.
Right? And note with fruit as well, we talked about that before. If you're suffering from, let's say, high cholesterol, adding a lot of fruit in your diet is going to raise your
good.
cholesterol. So you want
triglycerides out.
exactly. So you want to make sure you're limiting those things. And like we talked about, 3 servings of vegetables to 1 cup of fruit.
One serving of fruit.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. You want to add plenty of vegetables, including peppers, avocados, spinach, peas, kales, collards. There's lots of greens. Green foods are great to incorporate to your diet. And if you're not a big greens person, a great way to incorporate that would be in a smoothie. Put your smoothie together, throw your greens in. If kale's a stronger flavor, so work your way to that. Start with spinach. You can do a huge handful of spinach, blend that up. Doesn't really taste much. So it looks green, but if you throw berries into it, some people are like, I can't drink something green, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die, right? That's what I hear anyway. So throw a handful of berries in it, because now it's purple, and now you have a pretty little smoothie, but you've got your greens in there to start adding that extra nutrients into the body. It's an easy way to incorporate it.
And then next, some of my favorite vegetables, tubers. What? Yeah, tubers, like the root vegetables, you know, potatoes, carrots, parsnips, sweet potatoes, beets. Love my beets.
Beets are another great one to add to smoothies. A lot of people say they don't like beets, but throwing a little piece of beet into your smoothie gives it a really pretty color for one. Two, makes it very sweet. People don't think that it's a sweetness, but it gives it a really sweet flavor. Even sauteing your beets can be very sweet tasting.
Yes. Sauteed beets with sweet potatoes, delicious.
Who's favorite?
Whole grains, grains and other starches in their whole form,
Yes.
such as quinoa, brown rice, millet, steel-cut oats, barley, and wild rice. Those are my favorite.
Exactly. And you want to make sure when we're talking whole grains, it's not, you can go into like the bread aisle and they'll say, oh, whole grain bread, but look at it's made with flour,
Right.
processed bleached flour, that's not a whole grain.
If you're getting a whole grain bread, it will be in the freezer department or refrigerator department.
Exactly, because it actually has whole grains. So be careful with that when you're reading the labels and you're going out saying, oh, this is whole grain. Read it, because most of the time it does have bleached white flour, and that's not a whole grain. Now you're putting that nasty stuff back into your body.
Right. And the other is legumes, like, you know, your beans, any kind, and your lentils.
Exactly.
Love lentils too.
Exactly. So success in any aspect of life comes down to setting goals. So we're going to give you some tips to establish goals to get started with this. So you got to become aware of what you need to do. Envision the outcome.
Definitely envision the outcome. Know where you want to be.
Set the intention and focus on the goal that you want. And you have to take action every day to achieve that goal.
That's the biggest one. You can set goals, but if you're not taking action, you're not going to get there. And it's okay. Even if you just do one little step to get towards that goal each day, it's a process. And just know, just keep working on the process. You'll get there.
You want to have faith that when you set the intention, you focus and you take the action, which will reach your goal or give you the best outcome. So you really want to put a plan of action together. So one of the ways that you can do that is called SMART goal setting. So S, be specific on what it is you're looking at achieving.
So for weight loss, you don't want to say, I want to lose 20 pounds. You want to write down what your target weight is. Because I can lose 5 pounds and gain it back 4 times, and I've lost 20 pounds, but I'm right back where I started. But if I weigh, 180 pounds and want to weigh 160 or whatever the number is, now I have a target of what that 20 pounds will get to.
Yes. You want to make it measurable, because if you have nothing to measure it against, how do you know you've achieved that goal? So make it measurable, make it achievable. You want to, let's be real, if you don't have 30 pounds to lose, you don't want to set a goal that's unrealistic for your body. So you want to set an achievable goal. Don't set yourself up for failure. And make it rewarding. Don't reward yourself with a big chocolate cake. That's not going to be a good way of doing it.
How about reward yourself with a new outfit?
A new outfit, go on a nice trip. That's a great thing. So give yourself a reward and also set a time limit to when you want to achieve it. But you want to make sure it's an achievable time limit.
Right.
You can't say, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds by tomorrow, because let's be real, that's not going to happen. We might want that goal, but you want to set the goal to make it achievable.
Right. And I think a lot of times people set time limits to their goals that are unrealistic, and that's why they don't succeed. And if you set the reasonable time limit to that, you'll remember that it's always worth achieving a goal that you're working towards.
And it is nice to share with somebody. Have an accountability partner. We work with a lot of people here to help keep them on track and reach the goals that they're looking for. But even if you're not here, share with a friend. It's always easier to work together with someone to kind of like, hey, did you get your 10 burpees in today? Right? Well, not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet, but the day's not over.
Right.
That's all right. But yes, it's good to keep accountability so you can make sure you're doing that and slowly increasing, so you can add more to the mix.
Kitchen prep.
We are going to talk a little bit about prepping, because guess what? If you aren't prepared,
This is a big one. We always tell people when they do our total body reset, do not start this tomorrow. And the reason being is you want to prepare your household. You want to prepare your kitchen to help you keep on track. So if you have Hostess and Little Debbie's and all these foods that you shouldn't eat in your kitchen, and no vegetables, no fruits, no lean meats, and you're going to start tomorrow, how are you going to have success?
Yeah.
So so the time is really important on it.
Exactly. So you want to make sure you're preparing ahead of time so you do have the things that you need to consume, because if you don't, you're not going to be successful. You're going to come home from work at the end of the day, you're going to be starving, and what are you going to grab? The very fastest, quickest thing you can, whether it's good for you or not, because you're so starved that you're not going to be like, I don't want to cook a meal for an hour and cut all my vegetables. You're going to grab something through the drive-thru, you're going to grab something that's not great for you. So you want to make sure that you're preparing, make sure you have your greens, you have your berries if you're putting any kind of fruit into anything, you have water available, lemons, vitamins,
Nutritional supplements, very important.
exactly, your nuts, seeds, all those things, and you want to not have
Get rid
sugar.
of all your sweeteners, real and artificial.
Yes.
Get the caffeine out of there. You know, it's like the person I spoke to 2 weeks ago. She only has 2 cups of coffee a day. I'm a little seasoned, so my next question was, how big's your cup? 24 ounces. So if she's doing 48 ounces of coffee, that's 8 cups of coffee, because a cup of coffee is 6 ounces.
People don't realize that.
We had a conversation on that. You know, get rid of your dairy, get rid of the processed foods and processed meats, get rid of the soda, what do you call it out here, pop, get rid of the pop, right?
Exactly.
But it's important to have a well-stocked pantry to help you along with your road to success. You may eventually also want to invest in like a juicer or a blender or an immersion blender and a food dehydrator to help you in the process. And these are nice to have, but they're not necessary for getting started.
It's nice to have, let's be real, especially with smoothies. I'm a big smoothie advocate because I can't always eat as much as nutrients that I need, but I can blend it all up and I can drink it. So I can put lots of vegetables and things in there to get the nutrients that I need so I have the most energy and I feel my best. It's an easy way of doing that. So I always recommend starting with that if you have to invest in just one thing. That's my favorite thing.
Okay.
We also juice too, but that's a little more expensive thing because you can get a magic bullet that you can do little mini smoothies for like $20. So, my tip of the day.
There you go.
Some people dread food shopping, right? Who? What? Yeah. I would call and order it in any day. I hate going to the grocery store. The only thing I don't like about it is sometimes people don't pick out the things that I want. Most people don't realize vegetables, like when you order beets, that you want the greens, so they take it all off, making it pretty. I'm like, but I want the greens. That's the best part. So
It's got some great betaine in there, which is really important for digestion. You know, you want to make it easy for yourself by meal planning. This way you know what you're going to be looking for and gathering a few recipes. And once you know what the ingredients are, you'll need to make a list so you know what to shop for or have delivered. And a good tip is to look for recipes with similar ingredients so that you can buy what you need for the week in bulk and limit the prep time.
saves you money as well. So kind of plan ahead. It's really good if you plan ahead. You can pick out those recipes, pick out your favorite things that have some of the same things in it. If you're using onion or celery or whatever that looks like in the same recipes, makes it a lot easier for you to plan for the entire week. Now you have several meals to cover the entire week.
And as far as flavor alterations, each week or two pick up a new spice to add. You don't want to buy them all at once. You can, but you go, whoa, it's expensive. So if you buy a new spice every week or two, twice a month, you'll have something new to work with. And one of the things with vegetables, you always want to look for local because they're going to tend to be fresher than ones that have been shipped in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the next important part is prepping. When you get done with your grocery shopping, you have all these vegetables in there, but let's say you don't prep and you go off to work the next day and you come home and you're tired and nothing's cut and ready to go.
You'll be searching for that easy
You will.
packaged food, so prep before
Yep.
you're done.
You want to make sure you get home, wash everything, cut it all up, put it in containers. So if you're using it for a snack, you have your snack containers. If you're using for like stir fries and vegetables like that, you already have it all together. All you have to do is grab it, throw it in the pan. You can have a nice meal in 10-15 minutes because it's already ready for you.
And you'll
It's a lot
learn with
easier to do.
And you'll learn with produce that some produce will last longer than others, like your roots, your carrots, your beets. They're going to last a little longer than, say, something like maybe celery, which is going to last longer than your leafy greens.
Exactly. And another thing, put it in glass containers. It's really important with the glass containers. I know we don't advocate using the microwave, but a lot of times we're, hey, let me just put that in real quick. But a glass container is going to be a much better option, because if you microwave something in a plastic container, it's going to leach all the toxins of the plastic, and now you're putting more toxins into your body that you need to try to flush out. So it's a lot better to use those glass containers as well.
So, try that again. So we're going to have a few helpful hints to help you make your transition as smooth as possible.
And I know everyone always wants recipes, because everybody says, oh my gosh, I don't know what to eat. Can you give me some great recipes? I'm going to give you a quick recipe, or not. I guess he has more to say. I'm not going to give you a recipe yet.
I was going to say start by eating plant-based meals that you already eat, like rice and beans, stir fry is really good. You know, they're already vegetarian. And you can add a little bit of protein to your animal protein to that if you want to. But that's probably the easiest way to start, with things that you're already familiar with. And then you start to shift your balance. When you're eating a meal, you can enjoy more or less meat, but you want to make sure that you have plants into the mix. So you don't have to right away give up your favorite animal food, animal protein, but start increasing the plant-based
Add
that
the
goes around it.
vegetables to all your meals. If you can start adding vegetables to the things you're currently eating, that's the easiest way to get started into a plant-based recipe.
And you're going to get one of your favorite recipes out.
One of my favorite recipes would be a burrito bowl. I love Mexican, so anything
That's your favorite.
Mexican is my favorite, and I would eat it every single day. Probably, yeah, I would eat it every day. But a great way is a burrito bowl. So you could use some cooked grain like quinoa, and then add some cooked beans. I like black. You like?
Black or pinto.
Yeah, you like the pinto. So you can choose whatever you want, or do a combo of a couple beans. Add a cup of 3 to 4 cups of your chopped romaine lettuce, or steamed kale if you want to get fancy and try something different. Chop tomato, add green onions. I like avocado, so you chop the avocado up, and of course fresh salsa. We had so many tomatoes
to fresh salsa.
Blend it all up in a quick blender to pour on there. It's a great recipe to get started. You just put it in a bowl. We omit the tortilla wraps, but you can pop it in a bowl and eat that up.
That tortilla wrap, what is that?
Wheat. Just
Wheat,
flour.
flour.
Is basically.
I thought we weren't supposed to.
You're not. I would never put it in there.
So
I
there's
like
no
to put.
tortilla on this recipe.
Yeah, this has no tortillas.
Take
So
a
you
bowl.
put it in a bowl.
So how do you make a burrito without
It's a burrito bowl.
It's a burrito bowl.
Oh,
So we're putting it in a bowl. So all of the ingredients that you would do in a burrito, you're putting it in a bowl and eating it that way. So you're getting all the flavors without the added sugar and wheat.
Oh,
So it's a great
okay.
recipe.
I was wondering.
Yeah, there's lots of recipes, and if you're looking for more recipes, exactly. She's like, how do you eat that burrito?
Right,
I eat it in a bowl. So
Okay.
yes, if you're looking for more recipes, just let us know. We can always email you some great recipe options, and you guys as well. If you'd like us to email you some, just pop your email in the comments or private message us, and we'll be happy to send you some more recipes. All right.
So, since this is a workshop on whole food, one thing I want to talk about, not so much the product, but the label. Let me see if I can sneak it right in there. Where's our little recorder thing down there? So you look at the label in here. Oh, look at that. Back it up a little bit. Come over this way. Okay, that's enough. So if you look at the label on this product, there's nothing in there with parentheses. What does that mean? When you look at a product and you start seeing parentheses on there, it's manufactured, it's man-made, it's chemical formulation. So you want to try, when you're looking for whole food products, if it's already pre-fabbed or pre-mixed, that's one of the key things you want to look for. If there are no parentheses, you know that everything comes from fresh, not chemically formulated or made in a lab.
Exactly.
That's what I wanted to show with that.
Well, because we're going into supplements, so that was a good time for that. We're going to talk about supplements, because as important as it is to be eating the whole foods, let's be real, not all of us gets a lot of vegetables in our diet. And when you're starting out, sometimes you need to fill in those gaps. But when we talk about supplements, we're talking about whole food supplements, like he just said, not synthetic supplements. Because when you use synthetic supplements that you get in your average store, they are synthetic, which means your liver has to work twice as hard to process them. So
Right.
you're not getting the benefits like you think. So
And they don't. The synthetic supplements don't have the benefit. I'll talk real quick about vitamin C and turn it back over to you. Vitamin C has 8 components to it, naturally occurring. When you buy ascorbic acid in the store, it has 1 component. Vitamin C in the store is ascorbic acid. It's missing the other 7. It's not active. So it's an acid, ascorbic acid. It'll change your pH. It'll help you, with pH balance and maybe kill microbes. But it doesn't do what vitamin C does. True vitamin C does many things in the body, one of which helps get oxygen from your lungs into your bloodstream. The Sven Gorgi supplement that you buy in the store, he was a man that developed it back in the 1930s, Nobel Prize. He did get a Nobel Prize for that. And he begged to give it back because he knew his product didn't work like vitamin C. Imagine that. So anyway, when you buy ascorbic acid, it's not going to do that one benefit or the other benefits of vitamin C of helping oxygen go from the lungs into the bloodstream. But a real vitamin C supplement that has all 8 components in its natural form will do that. Back to you.
Look at that. Well, if you're unsure of what supplements your body needs, or your doctor, let's say, has told you need vitamin D or you need vitamin C or you need certain supplements and you're not sure what to take, ask us. That's what we do. We'll be happy to check you to see what you need and exactly how much you need, so you're not wasting your time or money to get the results that you're looking for. So that's what we do here. So,
Stay motivated.
I know, it's really hard.
But not if you find someone that you can be accountable with.
Exactly.
It makes it easier.
Exactly. So as you continue to switch your body to a whole foods, plant-based diet, make sure to check in with your goals. If you're not checking in, I mean, we have food logs here. Everyone's like, why do I have to do that? Well, it's so you can pay attention to what you're putting into your body. All of us need that accountability. You're writing it down. You're like, do I really need this chocolate-covered donut? I would say no, because I don't like donuts, so I would never want that. But
No.
somebody else might if they chose to eat it. No?
I never want one chocolate covered
You
donut.
want 500 of them.
It's easier not to have it than
Yeah.
to have one. So it's simple not to have it. It's that one.
Exactly.
But that'll help you stay motivated if you're accountable.
Yes, and that is the key to success. Putting your goals down, being prepared, planning what you need to do so you know when you hit that goal, when you're to the place that you want.
And something really important, life happens. And so it's okay if goals get modified. Maybe a time frame, maybe an end result. You'll get there as long as you stay focused and keep working towards the process of it. But sometimes aspects of the goals have to change based on life. So we should never beat ourselves up.
Exactly. And if you don't know where to begin, know that you can always give us a call. We're here to help. We help you get on the right track to get the goals that you're looking for. So if you have any questions about anything we talked about today, make sure you message us in the comments, give us a call, or if you guys have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them as well. And I think that's it.
That should be it.
Anything else?
Switching to a whole food, plant-based diet may seem daunting, but just take it one step at a time. And I promise you, you'll thank us later when you do that as your body gets healthier.
Exactly. And you'll notice a lot of your symptoms will go away.
It'll fade away.
One thing we do, we get to the root cause of what your symptoms are, help feed your body what it needs so it can feel better and you can actually live the life and have the health that you want.
Awesome.
I think that's all.
That's it. From Shores Wellness Solutions, the Natural Health and Wellness Center, I'm Dr. Dave,
And I'm Amy
and we want to be your inspiration.
for Healthy Living.
Take care.
Bye, guys.